वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वैदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैर्गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततत्कृतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तं न विदुः सुरासुरगणा देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः।
ॐ नारायणः परो व्यक्तात् अण्डमव्ययसम्भवम् अण्डस्यान्तस्त्विमे लोकाः सप्तद्वीपा च मेदिनी ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। We left off last time at an interesting juncture. What was that? How can Lord Krishna say there was never, that too using double negatives, okay, which is supposedly a very weak construction in in the English language, but in Sanskrit we have different rules. So how can someone using double negatives say and get away with it, saying there was never a time that I was not? What does that mean? I have always been here. All right, then Bhagavan can get away saying that because Bhagavan, of course, is always here. Thank God. No, no, no. Then it gets even more intriguing. There was never a time that you, O Arjuna, were not. Oh, so I am not Bhagavan, but I too was here. There was never a time that I wasn't here. Yes. Okay, this is a little bit of a eye blinking moment, wondering what this is all about. All right, and then what does the next line says? The next line says, "Ime janadhipaha." All these stalwarts, these kings, they too were always there. Ayo, so this battle of Kurukshetra will be fought forever. This is what it means because the opposite sides are always there and they were always there, they're always going to be there. There is no reprieve, so it will be keeping on going on fighting. No, no, no. Thankfully, that's why we study the Bhashya, because the Bhashya points out, Adi Shankara points out a very important thing. He says the Bahuvachanam, meaning the manifoldness, the plurality that is being talked about, the plural, meaning I was there, you were there, all these people were there. There was never a time I wasn't there. There was never a time you were not there. There was never a time he, she, it, they were not there. This is sounding like a grammar class, but it is a philosophical teaching. So all these things, what is this? Well, Bahuvachanam, the plural, is from the standpoint of the body count in the battlefield. Body count means what? Body count generally is not a very good thing. It means dead bodies. body count. But here, that is how we started. We started the whole teaching gatasoon agatasumscha nanu shochanti panditaha. The people, who are pandits, who are wise, do not grieve over that which is the body that is to be counted and the body that is to be discounted, the bodies that are still not yet dead and the bodies that are still about to die or already gone to the other, the bodies that are gone. So, from the standpoint of the manyness of these bodies, the bahuvachana, meaning the plural, is used, not from the standpoint of the I. One I, many, many, many bodies. This creates an aruchi. Aruchi means I can't sit with this very nicely. Why? Because that which is in Duryodhana's body is I. This is something which is not fun to contemplate on, and in fact, it is also confusing to contemplate on this fact that the what is in Krishna's body is I. Oh, nice. So all the favorable bodies, I can say it is me, it is me, it is me, it is me. But then when it comes to cockroaches and cockroaches like Duryodhana, then it is not very nice. Not very nice. What does this mean? This means that we have to take a little bit of a quantum leap. This is what the Bhashya wants us to do. And that's why Adi Shankara says, Deha Bheda Anuvritya Bahuvachanam Na Atma Bheda Abhiprayena. Not from the standpoint of the self. We are talking of manyness, but we are talking of the manyness only from the standpoint of name and form, which to us seem unpleasant and pleasant. From the standpoint of what? Our own ragadveshas, singular ragadveshas, personal ragadveshas, collective ragadveshas, and national ragadveshas. We are taught to hate certain things because, oh, we don't do this because we are from this country, and so we naturally hate something because we are all together in that. So, collective ragadveshas, individual ragadveshas, all of them coalesce, making these bodies appear real when they are not. So, therefore, it is said, there was never a time you did not exist. You always were there, Arjuna. I too have been always around. So, what's the difference between you and me? Well, to understand that, we have to go to chapter 4. There's only one difference. Bahuni me vyathitani janmani cha tava cha Arjuna. You have had many, many births, O Arjuna, and so have I, as though births. Okay? And then what's the difference between you and me? Tani aham vetha sarvani. Natvam vetha parantapa. I know all my births, and I know I was a fish, I was a boar, not Bore, okay, Boar. I was a boar that saved the earth from deluge, from a big deluge. I was the fish, I was this, I was that. I remember all that. And I also remember you and all your births. You don't remember all that. Why? Because the avarana in the form of ajnanam, this ajnana avarana, the covering as it were, in the form of, what is that called? Atma ajnanam, self ignorance. And because of that, you count the bodies, you count the minds, you count means what? You take it as real. You take it into account. That is what the counting really means. And so, from the standpoint of the bodies that are there, it looks as though there are many, many bodies. But really speaking, everyone always exists. Why? This is our introduction to the fact that the I is infinite. One I which is as though inhabiting so many bodies, so many minds, so many senses, without really undergoing any change. How to assimilate this? I mean, how to do this? Because there are so many bodies that look pleasant to me from the standpoint of personalities, etc., and some people look unpleasant to me from the standpoint of how they behave. So how to see that it's all one? So, for this purpose, an illustration is presented. And Adi Shankara makes a beautiful and simple segue. This is what he is known for, a very pithy segue between one verse and the next, one chapter and the next. Nothing is left unconnected. Look at this sentence. Tatra katham iva nityah atma iti drishtantam aha. Katham iva nityah atma. How come this I is infinite, is nitya, never comes to an end? Even though the bodies die, the I is the same. How to even wrap our minds up around it? To illustrate this, an example follows. Beautiful, very, very, very beautiful. So, because this is not a, this is something which has to be, this is something which is easy to get confused about. Many bodies, one eye. Is this a belief that is specific to the Hindu Dharma? This is something we have to ask ourselves. Is it a belief that, okay, the I is one? If it is a belief, let us look at both of these possibilities. Possibility number one, it's a belief. Okay, if it is a belief, then there is no possibility of moksha. Moksha too will remain at the level of belief. Like saying, after death, I will go to a better place. Like heaven, I will take a selfie with Indra, the king of heaven. We will have chai together and I will just snap a selfie. Why this? Because I'm putting an arm around him and then I'm taking a selfie. So this is a belief. This is a nice thing to contemplate upon because as a belief, but it's not going to transform how loathful I feel about myself right now, how filled with sorrow I am right now. The prospect of going to heaven, and that too, who knows if I'll go or not, is not going to take care of one's sorrow right here, right now. So even though it's tempting to look at it as an integral package of Hinduism, there are so many isms, and Hinduism is one more ism. And then through this ism, and then there's all these, it's a package deal. And what's the package? Okay, rebirth. Okay, that's where perhaps Lord Krishna is going. That's a belief. And then this one I, that transcends all other bodies and minds and senses. That too is a belief. If you start thinking like this, then there is no point in continuing with the second chapter or the third chapter or the subsequent chapters. Why? Because the belief is kind of nice to take a collective trip, but it's not going to resolve anything in the present. To take a collective trip, we would not be any different from some other cults that believe that, oh, the afterlife is wonderful and laden with some whatever we want, and therefore why this life? There were all these people, moonies and all these things, moonies, and so it was named after the leader of the cult, some Reverend Moon. But that is be you know that is that they all just decided to give up their lives, and because they thought that there was a belief that after death all the pain and the sorrow and the fear and everything will be completely fixed, no need to do anything. And so there would be no difference if the atma being one is a belief. And so therefore we have to take the second paksha, the second possibility we have to look into, that it is not a belief, it's a revelation, then it changes everything. So, revelation means it's a fact that is being presented to me, over which I have difficulty in assimilation. I have difficulty in assimilating this fact which is revealed to me and which is not possible to know by any other means of knowledge than the Shabda Pramana, the words of Bhagavan, either coming through the sage or coming through Bhagavan himself directly in the Bhagavad Gita. Through the words of Bhagavan, something is being conveyed which I have no way of knowing by myself. There is no by myself here at all, which is a possibility. And so, therefore, this is something I have to see as I have to see as something that I am yet to understand. It is, it is a revelation pending understanding. That is what it is. And so, therefore, this is something that needs to be taken seriously, because it is not part of this package of beliefs which comprises the Hindu Dharma. The Hindu Dharma also has many beliefs, just like other religions. In Christianity, okay, you go to a place, afterlife, heaven, and then you are one with God. This is, or you are enjoying your time with God. This is a belief that after that this will happen, and after that this is what you will do. This is a belief. In the Hindu Dharma also there are such beliefs. You will travel, the soul, so to speak, the jiva will travel after death, depending upon the karma, go to pleasant places, unpleasant places. It's a belief. It's an unverifiable belief, non verified belief, because we don't have any heaven returnees. And right now on earth we can only get as far as space returnees. They have gone to space and come back after having spent a lot of money. They've gone to space and come back, and what a ride. The last trip they organized, out of two bathrooms, one of them was not working. That to go all the way to space and experience same local problems that one has over here. क्या बात है, so that much you can say, I am a space returnee. Why just get spaced out right here? You'll have come back from inner space, so in being spaced out within, no need to go all the way there. This is something very strange. So that's all our claim to fame is right now. No one is a swarga returnee. Nobody knows what it is like. And so therefore this is a belief that the body survives death, is a belief. There is no way of verifying it. That whatever survives death is subtle, is not available easily for objectification, is a belief. And that which survives death goes from loka to loka, belief. But that you are not subject to death, not a belief. Very important for us to discern what is a belief and what is a revelation. Belief is okay. I mean, you can believe or not, but then it's still a belief. If you say, for instance, I am a believer in rebirth, ठीक है, that's still a belief because there is no way to verify it. And if another person says, I hate rebirth, I don't believe in rebirth, that is also a belief. Just because you say, I don't believe in rebirth, that doesn't make it a reality. That too is a belief. But here, even though you may be in disbelief, thinking that the I am always there, the I always is, it's a belief that is waiting for you to grow up to a place from which you can understand and assimilate. How? Well, we can take examples, some local examples that which we experience all the time. We have certain examples that we can help ourselves with, which are not outside the ken of our own experiences. And therefore, in the 13th verse of the second chapter, one such example is given. Let us chant. देहिनोऽस्मिन् यथा देहे कौमारं यौवनञ्जरा देहिनोऽस्मिन् यथा देहे कौमारं यौवनञ्जरा तथा देहान्तरप्राप्तिः धीरस्तत्र न मुह्यति तथा देहान्तरप्राप्तिः धीरस्तत्र न मुह्यति देहिनः dehin. Deha means what? Body. Very easy. See how Sanskrit is so easy. And the one who is in the body is called in. Dehin. The one who is in the body. See how easy Sanskrit is. So in Sanskrit, how do we translate? Just like Vedantin, the one who is in Vedanta. So how do we translate this? We translate this by saying Dehaha asya asti iti dehin. The suffix is matup. Tadasya asti iti matup. That is the suffix, and that matup becomes in at certain times. When it is the in thing to do so, it becomes in. And then we have the word dehin, and when it declines, dehi. So the nominative is dehi. So dehinaha, plural. Dehinaha, then these people who are endowed with bodies, dehinaha, and then dehaha asti, asya asti iti dehi. Dehinaha, singular, yeah. So the one who is endowed with a body, tasya dehinaha. And then so now we are being told, we are being encouraged in this verse to look at the body very differently from how we are accustomed to. It's a very sneaky example. Why? Because it passes off as an illustration to be able to see something, the oneness of the Atma and the manyness of the bodies, we were told, is going to be illustrated in the form of an example. But it's a very sneaky example, because while it's giving this illustration, what does it do? It is also making us have inner space as we speak with regard to the body mind sense complex. This is what a successful teaching does. A successful teaching, which the Bhagavad Gita, of course, is, it doesn't really stop at trying to, it's an illustration. It doesn't just stop at the illustration. It is Vishwato Mukha. Vishwato Mukha means serving many, many, many purposes all at once. All at once, serving multitudinal purposes. It is just amazing, very sneaky, because the changes in Vedanta happens when one is not looking. If you look, it doesn't happen. Yeah. A watched pot never boils, they say. That is exactly how it is. You keep looking, have I changed? Have I changed? Have I changed? What is happening to me? Have I got more Shraddha? What is happening to the Titiksha muscle? Am I being able to observe the eye? Am I doing this? Am I doing that? Then you will not see any changes. That's why, much of the feeding of the Vedanta Shastra that takes place, which nourishes the mind, which nourishes the buddhi, etc., happens when one is distracted, as it were. Really. Just like the mother, Indian mother, okay? The Western mother feeding the child is a very different scenario. The Western mother ties up the child in something called high chair. And, it's imprisoned, the poor thing. The modern mother, okay? And then it is, fed. Very practical, the high chair. But here, the mother from a few decades ago, especially the Eastern mother, what would happen? The child would run around outside. And the mother would run after the child, and the child, of course, wants to play, doesn't want to eat. And the mother would say, "Is that a doggy? Where? Okay, well, something has gone in. Oh, look at the crow. The kaka, the crow is here." Another two mouthfuls gone in. No tantrums, easy, and of course, no cleanup. High chair means you have to at least sweep and mop around, but here it's all outside. And plus, it's two in one because you have done bhuta yagya. You have you have fed all the other beings as well. Many people are invited to lunch with the child, you know. A roadside dog, come, because my child is not eating, I think you should have this roti. And the child opens the mouth, okay, little bit for you, little bit for you. And then, and then you get punya also. Feeding your own child, you get punya, very nice. And so Mother Shruti also, very, very astute and clever mother. And she too mothers this jiva into understanding this idea. First, by placating the ahankara and invoking the rational part of the human mind and saying, okay, now we are going to illustrate how, by an example, you will see an experiential example that comes up, and you will see that, you can understand how the Atma is one. And so the rational mind is engaged and has something to do. The illustration is just a crow. Crow? What do you mean? Yeah, you're looking at it. But something else is being fed at the same time. So that is how I want us to be able to see this verse, to be able to decode this verse. And even though I have given what is happening away, it will still work. That is the beauty of it, because this is the timeless message of the Bhagavad Gita. So then, what does it say? I lost the verse now because I have one more document open. Ah, here it is. Okay. So, yatha, just as, dehinaha, for the person indwelling this body, there are three states. Three states. What do you mean there are three states? I am in a new state every day. You don't know. Yes, but those are mental states. We are talking of physical states. Three states. What are the three states? This is illustrated by this timeless riddle. And what is the riddle? The riddle is, what is on all fours in the beginning and walks with 2 feet in the middle and with 3 feet at the end? What is that? Now we know the crawling baby, the adult who walks upright on 2 feet, and the vriddha, vriddho yati grihitva dandam. So the vriddha who is with a cane, a walking stick. So that is three legs, three-legged at the end, two-legged in the middle, four-legged at the beginning of one's life. These are the three states that are generally talked about, and here too the Bhagavad Gita is giving us these. The Lord is giving us these three states. Yatha dehinaha, just like for the indweller of this body. This is what is so beautiful about Sanskrit. The one who is in the deha is being invoked, not the body. Here itself there is an inner space. Oh, the one who is in the body, where do I go to find out the one who is in the body? Well, the finder outer is the one that we are talking about, the one that can observe. Oh, I feel a little out of sorts today. Who is the I that is observing? Who is the I that is out of sorts? Those are two different things. The I that is feeling out of sorts is with regard to the body, perhaps with regard to the mind, or perhaps with regard to the senses. And the I that is watching is the I that is not affected by the change in the states, in the moods. Will the real I please stand up? Of course, it is happy to oblige and stand up, because it is the I that never really sits down. It simply is, and it is you, because it is so discernible as that which is unaffected. Because if you are able to perceive movement, that means the real you is still. If you are able to perceive changes, you cannot perceive changes without there being a changeless one. And that is who is being referred to. So, right in the beginning, in the first quarter of this verse itself, what do we have? We have an invitation to uh, to transcend being completely what's the word for it, being completely inundated by this body, being completely affected by the mind or the sense organs. And so therefore what, so therefore there's an invitation to connect with the watcher, the witness. And this is the first verse that is going to talk about the witness without really saying witness. The sakshi is already invited to preside over and see the truth of the mantra, the thesis statement. O Arjuna, you are grieving over that which does not deserve grief. Very beautiful. So, Dehin, Dehinaha, for the indweller of the body, just as Yatha, there are three states. What are they? Kaumaram, Kumarasya Bhava, Kaumaram, Kumare Bhavam, Kaumaram, childhood. Yauvanam, Yauvanam means Yuna Bhava, meaning the state of youth. Jara, which is the root verb for the English word geriatry, jara. Yeah, which is the origin of the word. I'm convinced. Geriatry. So jara, old age, where the body becomes jarjara, meaning it disintegrates faster than we can say the word jarjara, frequentative usage, yeah. And so, therefore, these are the three states of this body that you are able to observe. Somebody who is 90 years old can bring me a photograph of themselves, a blurry black and white photograph of themselves at 2.5 months, and say, "Oh, you know what? This is me." And I'm peering into their photograph and I'm looking at this elderly person, this man, and I'm looking at the photograph again, and then what do I say? Aha, I see the resemblance. Here also you don't have teeth. There also you did not have teeth. Here, now also you don't have hair. There also you did not have hair. It must be you. So, see how, with such confidence, the person can bring the photograph and say, "This was then. That was me. That was me. I am the second from the left in a group of, in a class photograph of 55 people. I'm the second from the bottom row left." How do you know? I mean, there are so many children. It could be anybody. No. Why? Because I was there. I remember. I remember the school photograph day. And I remember, why do I remember it? Because I did not want to be there. I did not want to go to school. I had to be kicking and screaming, dragged to the school by the mother and the father. I remember that. And then I burst into tears before the school photograph was taken, because the one who is on the left right now in the photograph was a big bully. And this fellow pinched me just before the photo was being taken, and then I burst into tears. And then that's how I ended up sitting on the teacher's lap for the photo. This is how it happened. And so, see, the whole thing is remembered. Me then, me crying, me being pinched, me being slapped around, and me being, me whose tears were dried by the sari of the teacher, and me sitting inside the teacher's lap. And then that's how this photo was taken. It's all me, 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 me. And then in youth, oh, the indiscretions of youth, all the things I did, you don't even want to find out. And we were wild back then. That is what every 90-year-old says. Wild means they went to sleep at 9 o'clock instead of 8. That's all it means, okay? Yeah, that was the extent of their nightlife. But still, for them, it is wild. And then every elderly person you talk to, back in my days, that is how the stories start. In my days when this is what used to happen. Now people are just terribly adharmic. They don't even know what to do and what not to do, and just everybody, look at what the world is coming to. Look at the climate. Back in my days, we used to eat out of leaf plates and leaf bowls. Back in my days, we used to have much more. We used to go and buy peanuts, and that used to come in a paper cone. Back in my days, we used to have much more reverence for the Mother Earth, for the environment that we live in. Back in my days, there was much more. People were not having road rage because there were hardly few cars around. How can you have road rage when you know the owner of every car in your town? Okay. And then back in my days, back in those days, back in my day, we never bothered with trying to keep grudges. Back in my day, we rose with the sun. You didn't have an option. There was no electricity. Okay, that's what you had to do. But this is how it is. Back in my day, this is how we were. And now this is a terrible place to live. And this will happen even now. The current generation growing up will also say later on, back in my days. In fact, the whole thing has started with with Lord Krishna himself, who laments in the fourth chapter, sa kale neha mahata yogo bhrashtaf parantapa. He is the one who started on this. I taught this vidya in the Upanishad, in the Ishavasya Upanishad. I taught people how to do karma yoga. I taught people how to go for jnana yoga. And then back in my day, I had taught them, and now they have all forgotten the teachings. Look at them now, the adharmic lot that they have become, useless beings, and this is how they are. And so this is, how is this possible? How is this diatribe back in my day possible if you were not already a witness? If you were not already a witness of these three stages that are universally marked: childhood, maybe up till 12, 13, 14, maybe 16, and then youth is till when? In 79. Okay, yeah. Until then, one can say modern, modern youth. Because these days they have a way, they have an expression which I have not yet understood. But they keep saying things like what is it? How does it go? 50 is the new 40. Something like that? Yeah. 50 is the new 40, something like that. So 60 is the new, like this. So saying, yes, you may be physically 60, but actually from the current standards of living, the advances of the medical sciences have made, and because of so many other factors, you are really 40. And so the doctors actually would beg to differ, because you may be upkeeping yourself with the help of lotions and potions to dismiss every notion with regard to the body. You may be upkeeping yourself, but the organs are aging. They are still aging. They are still doing they're doing their number. They are following the laws of nature. Recently what happened, some kind of a celebrity, he was some kind of an actor, some kind of a big celebrity icon. suddenly died. He was fit as a fiddle. He was about 40 or something. He was in his 40s, 45 maybe, I don't know. And then he suddenly died while on the treadmill. And then of course he had some kind of a cardiac arrest. And then the doctors, now are in India, there is this big debate, how much exercise is too much. And one of the famous doctors warned that even though you may say the new 60 is really 40, or whatever you may say, the new 40 is 60, however you want to put it, we beg to differ. Your organs and everything, there's only so much you can take, and this much exercise may not be needed for everybody. So like this, so the witnessing of the whole life cycle. Whose life cycle? Your own life cycle is itself, and the life cycle that is experiential is it's an experiential life cycle, because I am the one who experienced childhood, I am the one who experienced youth, I am the one who is now experiencing old age, Jara. And so, this is a universal experience. And what does it teach us? It teaches us two things. First thing it teaches us is that these three stages are not me. It is not mentioned here, but that is what it is teaching us. When we are not looking, this is what the teaching is happening. If I may, whatever I observe is not I, anatma. Atma, I, and the object of observation, anatma, not I, not I, not I, not I, not I, not I, not I. And so, therefore, if I can observe childhood, that is not intrinsic to the I. If I can observe youth and old age, those are also states not intrinsic to the I. This is the first thing it is teaching. The second thing it is teaching is also something very interesting. Tatha, in the same manner, just like there are three states, there is a fourth state. What is the fourth state? Dehantara praptihi. Dehantara means after the body is gone, praptihi, the gain of another body, is also part and parcel of this life cycle. The first three states of this life cycle are observable and experienced. The last one is a bit of a mystery, and it is definitely based on belief, but nonetheless, we can help ourselves to this belief by extending the logic of childhood, youth, and old age. If we can accept that the I undergoes these three states, why can't we extend the logic and say the I also takes on other bodies? Why? Because, because nothing in this universe can be destroyed. It only undergoes transformation. And here we are talking of, here we are talking of the five elements: fire, water, earth, air. They all undergo transformation. And then, and sometimes they release toxic things in the process of undergoing transformation: carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, etc., noxious gases, effluents, and other toxic things. It's only a transformation. So, what to talk if the insentient things cannot be added to the universe, or cannot be destroyed and cannot be taken away from the universe? What to talk of the sentience presence that is I? Why do we say that it can come to an end? If the insentient things in the universe are not subject to coming to an end, what about the sentient I? This is a very, very beautiful analogy, something that cannot be refuted. And so we extend this understanding that nothing can be added, nothing can be subtracted. What to talk of the one who is observing that nothing can be added or subtracted? And so, therefore, Dehantara praptihi. Dehantara prapti, the gain of another body after this one is destroyed, is a natural course of one's being, as natural as undergoing these three states of experience: childhood, youth, and old age. And so this is, this is basically what what the this verse is having many many layers. And what this verse is achieving is first to give us a sense of separation from the body and connect with the observer of the body mind sense complex, the one who is observing the three states of being, and not childhood, youth, old age, and not succumbing to any of them, and under having a certain dispassion with regard to one's childhood, with regards to one's youth, and with regard to the old age. Then the second thing that is being talked about is that the Atma is infinite. How is this achieved? Let's read the Bhashya. Tasam prathama avasthana nashe na nashah. Tasam is meaning tisra, avastha, these three avasthas. For these three avasthas, these three states of being, when the childhood is destroyed, when the childhood is gone, are you gone? No. You survived childhood to tell me that you had a wonderful childhood. You survived that to tell me that. So that means, na nashaha atmanaha. The atma is not destroyed. Then, dvitiya avastha upajanane, when the second stage is birthed, with the birth of the second stage, what is the second stage? I.e., youth. Upajanane, na upajananam atmanaha. The Atma is not born with the birth of youth. The Atma is not dead with the death of childhood. Kim tarhi, then what to talk of? Avikriyasya eva dvitiya tritiya avastha praptihi atmano drashta. Very beautiful. So then, what to talk of? What to talk of this? The changeless one in the body, which passes into the second and the third stages, which doesn't die at the first stage, is not born at the second stage, but remains changeless while going through the second and third stages, or while going through all the stages. Tatha tadvadeva, therefore, in the same manner alone, dehat anyah dehantaram tasya praptihi dehantara praptihi avikriyasya eva atmanah ityarthah. So when another body is assumed, who is it assumed by? By the changeless Atma alone. Just like the changeless Atma passes from youth, childhood, youth, and old age without undergoing any transformation or being afflicted by the stages, so too the changeless Atma, while passing on to another body from one body to the next, does not undergo any change at all, and meaning it is changeless. See, now we get the sense: so many bodies, one eye. The one eye that is uh, protected, so to speak, from undergoing any transformation, any change, any modification whatsoever. The Atma is free of all changes. And that's the second thing it teaches, is that this changeless Atma can assume many bodies, and that doesn't make it succumb to any afflictions or change. So, just like there is in you a separate I that is not affected by any of the changes. In all these people assembled at the battlefield, O Arjuna, there is an I that is separate. Number one. Number two, that I and this I are non-separate. There is one I which is as though indwelling many bodies, many minds, many senses without becoming any one of them. It's blessing. So the Atma here obviously is not the body, but that awareness of the body, awareness of the mind, awareness of the senses, and that awareness we call consciousness. So that Atma which we are talking about is the consciousness I am. I am. I know I am. And how long do I know I am? I know I am, I know I am, I know I am forever. Satchidananda Atma alone takes on, as it were, many bodies, many minds, many senses without becoming any one of them at any given time. This is the second thing that we have to see. And therefore, what? Dhiraha. Knowing this, Dhiraha means dhihi rati dadati, the one who has dhi means buddhi, the one who has enough buddhi to share, rati dadati, so enough buddhi to give away without without feeling any without feeling like one has had a lobotomy. Okay, so has enough buddhi to share, enough buddhi to give away without feeling like one has suffered from some kind of a lack, meaning the one who is wise, wise enough to share this knowledge with others. Dhiraha, Dhiman, the one who has this kind of a buddhi, namuhyati. Tatra, Tatra means kutra, Tatra means where, Evam sati, meaning in this context, knowing that the fact being so, one does not get deluded. There is Sharira Dharma. Sharira Dharma means there are certain qualities that are intrinsic to the body. Drishta Nashta Swabhava. So as you keep looking at it, it gets destroyed. Body parts start to fall off one by one. And we can observe that with the teeth ourselves. And then, everything starts to fall off. And so then there is a aspect which we see, which is subject to growth, which is subject to decay and subject to death. These are all what are called sharira dharma, which are for all the bodies. Then in old age also there are further changes, but the atma continues through all the stages without undergoing any change whatsoever. And then the even as the eye passes from the childhood to youth to old age, it also passes on to the next body, because the body that it has occupied just now has become useless for further occupation. Useless in what way? Not because it is old, but because the karma associated with the body has completed for this life span. The karma has completed. So therefore the body is dropped. Otherwise, if we say, oh, it is old and that's why it is dropped, then it is very, it is not a very logical understanding. You know why? Because it starts to feel like, okay, then what about when people die young? Sometimes people die young, very young. And what about then? So that is not fair, because their body was not useless. They were in the full of health, and then some car accident, unfortunate, they were gone. And so how does that explain? That's why we have to take the uselessness of the body from the standpoint of karma. From the standpoint of karma, this much karma had to be endured in this body, and then when that karma is up, then the body goes. But what about the pills that I keep popping? The pills such as antioxidants, antibiotics, and then probiotics, and these prebiotics. So many things are there. And then, to take care of the gut biome. Okay, and just concentrate on the om there in biome. Okay, yeah, and that's all we have to do. So then, that is all. That is the one that is you, that is changeless. Rest of it you can take or leave. So when you consume the antioxidants by importing goji berries from the ends of the Himalayas and the acai berries from Brazil, and you, even though you are eating acai berries, you can't heave a sigh of relief, because Lord Yama is just sitting in Starbucks because you've given him a coffee break, that's all. He says, oh, okay, a person is taking acai berries. You are not the only one, letting out a sigh of relief. Lord Yama also says, oh, I have time here, and looks in the neighborhood and looks first at his, iPad. Yeah, Lord Yama has, yeah, because all the numbers are up, are there. Okay, nobody else right now to pick up. I have a little bit of time. I'm going to Starbucks. And then, what is that? Jiva cam. He has a Jiva cam, and he just, presses the button on the Jiva cam, and he sips his espresso and nicely and looks around. Oh, okay, now started to do yoga also. Maybe I can just go to the laundromat and come back, because the person has taken up yoga. Oh, the person has taken up meditation now. Okay, a little more time. Maybe I can even go out to lunch and then come back. That's all it is. You just are, buying time. That's all it is. How can you buy time? Because you have free will. You have free will and you're exercising it, exercising the free will. And so the prarabdha is a little elastic. So you're able to stretch it out a little bit. And then, and the last laugh is on Lord Yama. Doesn't matter. And then, it doesn't, it doesn't affect him at all. He just laughs. He says, okay, this is it. Now time is up, back up. Time is up. And then so like this, the this is basically what it is. And so the when the eye leaves the body, then it goes on to another body, because this body karmically or age wise, it has become useless for occupation. And then another segue to the next verse, very beautiful segue here. So the next verse is again, this is a very practical section. The section that we are studying right now, these verses, have a philosophy to offer that is nonetheless, very, very profound. But at the same time, it's a philosophy that one can take home and, quote unquote, experience, practice every day. It's a philosophy that has very practical implications that one can observe and one can understand cognitively through a process called mananam, meditating on all these things that we are looking at. So the segue to verse 14 is very beautiful. Adi Shankara says, Yadyapi Atma Vinasha Nimittah Mohaha na sambhavati Nityah Atma iti Vijanatah, although that to the one who knows, iti vijanatah, to the one who knows what, that atma vinasha nimittah mohaha na sambhavati nitya atma iti vijanatah, for the one who knows that the I is infinite, then atma vinasha nimittah, so the moha, the delusion caused by or arising from the idea that the self is subject to death, will not arise. For who? Iti vijanatah, for the one who knows that the Atma is not subject to death. So, this kind of a delusion that the Atma will also die will not arise. Still, tathapi, Shita Ushna Sukha Dukha Prapti Nimittaha Mohaha Laukiko Drishyate. So we are not talking of the one who is a dhira, the one who is wise, and then the one who is not subject to any delusion that the Atma is about to die. The Atma is hot, the Atma is cold, the Atma needs this, the Atma needs that. No such delusion can arise. Nonetheless, we are not talking, preaching to the choir, says Lord Krishna. We are talking to not the jnanis here. We are talking to the ones who don't know, to the ones who are subject by ajnanam, or the ones who are jnani wannabes, the one who wants to be a jnani. To them we are addressing this. And here we find laukikaha. Laukikaha means in the world, pertaining to the world, we find a moha, a pervasive delusion caused by nimittaha, caused by what? Arising out of what? The worldly pair of opposites that are experienced, the experiential pair of opposites. What are they? Shita, Ushna, cold and hot. So winter is coming, it's cold, it's cold, it's cold, it's cold, it's cold. No, 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 it's hot, it's hot, it's hot. This is what we are talking about. Then these are the physical pair of opposites, hot, cold, and then you can add rain also there, and then and then mental opposites, emotional opposites, sukha and dukkha, sorrow, happiness. We see certain changes in the world and people buy into those changes based on the experience of opposites, whether they are on the level of what, whether they are on the level of the body or on the level of the mind. They buy into these opposites. Then Sukhai Viyoga Nimittaha, meaning there is a fear that I will be separated from the object of happiness. Dukkha Samyoga Nimittascha. And then there is also a fear that I will be united with the object of sorrow. So, the anticipation of the loss of happiness and the approach of distress, what happens? Gives cause to grief. Tannimittaha cha shokaha iti etat. So it will cause rise to grief. So, in other words, Arjuna almost had a question, and Lord Krishna preempted the question by talking about this, the fact that in the world we have to encounter these opposites. What's the point of having this lofty philosophy that says the Atma goes from one body to another, passes through childhood, youth, and old age unscathed, while I am shivering from cold, while I am hungry, while I am thirsty, while I have, sorrow, and while I have happiness or the fear that the happiness will be lost. Anticipating Arjuna's words, the next verse is going to come. Matra sparshastu kaunteya शीतोष्णसुखदुःखदाः आगमापायिनो नित्याः तां स्थितिक्षस्व भारत. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः. हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः. हरिः ॐ. Thank you.
Ji, thank you for the stitch in the stomach session today.
Oh, I'm glad.
I had so much fun. It was really fun. Thank you.
It is all Bhagavan.